Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarvana Raghunatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Sadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sarvana Ragatam Shri Shakavatam Shri Krishna Karma Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kata Radhakanna Nose Taptakanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rashavami Sudhide Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayecha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Welcome to this discussion on Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have started the fourth chapter. So in this fourth chapter, we were going through the shloka number 2. So I'm just sharing my screen so that we can recite the shloka and continue from where we left. So evam parampara praptam imam raja rishyo vidu sakalena mahta yogo nashta parantam. The translation is the supreme science was thus received through chain of disciplining succession. Evam parampara praptam. And saintly kings. We discussed about Raja Rishu on great detail last time. So chain of their saintly kings understood it in that way. But in due course of time, succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So Krishna is now giving the reason why it is done. Sakalena means it is the great power of time. Yogo nasta parantapa. So yoga nasta means that knowledge has become lost. So there is a significant point which Krishna is trying to make here. Sometimes when we read Mahabharata, we will question why this is like this, why Kshatriya kings were gambling, how a woman can marry five people, why widows were, why Gandhari was allowed to tie the ties. So Krishna wants to make a point that the standard of culture that was prevalent at the time of Mahabharata or during the time of Kurukshetra war is not the right culture. The standard of culture has deviated from the original culture. So Krishna is now saying that this time, that is the time at which Mahabharata is happening, the Mahabharata war is happening, or when Pandavas and Kauravas were there, at that time the knowledge is lost. The culture that was prevalent at that time was not the actual culture. There was, of course, Vedic culture, which was far better than today's Kali Yuga culture. But this culture was degraded. Kalena Mahata. Krishna is using the word Kalena Mahata. Kalena Mahata means due to the influence of that. So there were demons at the time during the war who were at the in the kingdom, and they were degrading the society. However, Krishna is taking or talking the more generic factor here. It is the power of time. It is not just the demons around. It's not that because Duryodhana, Dushasana, or Dhritarashtra was there, the society got degraded. Krishna is now talking about a subtle principle, which is time. Time, we do not know how it passes away and how it degrades things. So we can see the influence of time in our day-to-day life also. If we keep boiled milk in a container, over a period of time, it becomes curd. And then if we do not use it, it gets spoiled. So by the power of time, there is a transformation. This transformation is degradation or deterioration. If you want to make this milk into butter, then there is a conscious effort to make the milk in a much better form, which is butter. And then we take care of butter in a nice way and boil it, heat it, then it gets into ghee. So this is positive transformation. So to prevent milk from getting spoiled If we put extra effort, we get a product which has a longer shelf life, and and it is also healthy. It can be used for purpose much better than where milk can be used. Or the application of ghee is wider than application of milk. So it takes a significant effort to get ghee. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he makes a point that the knowledge is lost even today. So if you see, present moment, there are so many editions of Gita, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplining succession. So there are so many commentaries of Bhagavad Gita. All these commentaries are strange and deviant. The commentators in their own field might be very popular, they might be expert in their area of work. However, their interpretation of Bhagavad Gita is off track from the actual message of Gita. One of the commentators has pointed out that the is whole objective of Bhagavad Gita is non-violence. So in the entire Bhagavad Gita, there are only few points on ahimsa, but the main matter of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna majorly spoke about, is bhakti, yoga. He talks about himself. He talks about war. He talks about the devotional service, that is bhakti. So bhakti and Bhagwan, yoga, bhakti, and Bhagwan are the main focus in Bhagavad Gita. It has got nothing to do with ahimsa or non-violence. Krishna says Yuddhesva. Yuddhesva, it means what? Yuddhesva Vigatta Jvara. This is directly opposite to ahimsa. So ahimsa is a good quality and one of the important characteristic of a brahmanas. But Krishna is not recommending ahimsa in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is talking, or the main topic of Bhagavad Gita is not ahimsa. There is one more commentator who says that India did not follow the message of Bhagavad Gita and hence has lot of misfortune. If India followed Bhagavad Gita, then India would have wiped out all its enemy states. This is because Krishna told to fight Yuddhasva. This is not fighting that Gita recommends. So Gita recommends, so the main part of Bhagavad Gita's message is once again misinterpreted here or misappropriated for authors' own purpose. Many of the commentaries of Bhagavad Gita were written by Indian political leaders who were freedom fighters, fighting for freedom during British rule of India. These commentaries were written by them when they were imprisoned by British government. This was this was their pastime to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction of these commentaries, they write that they have not referred to any traditional sources for their commentaries. So we can know that the authenticity of these commentary is a major question, no, or it's a questionable point. So Srila Prabhupada's point is that if somebody is writing book, they can write their own mind. But if someone wants to comment on Bhagavad Gita, they have to present it properly. Srila Prabhupada condemns this because misinterpretation of information, especially Bhagavad Gita or Krishna's words, is a serious offense. This can be explained with an example. There is a speaker who is speaking English. The audience do not know English. They know only Hindi. Thus, there is a translator. This translator's duty is to translate things correctly without any misinformation or misrepresentation. The speaker is saying Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead, of Godhead. But the translator is misinterpreting and saying that Brahman is supreme. If there is someone in the audience who knows English and Hindi, he will agitate that this translator is misinterpreting the speech. The translator says that this is the spiritual gathering. Why are they getting why are they getting agitated? And he will say Home Shanti, Shanti and all. He tells this, but the person is agitated because there is complete nonsense going on in the name of translation. The ignorant people cannot understand the extent of misinterpretation happening. However, the one who knows the subject and the languages will understand the enormity of the situation. If the translator wants to give his own class, he can give his views and ideas. This means that he can make an advertisement that he is giving class and invite people. Then, when people come, he can give his own thoughts and ideas. When he is acting as a translator, his only job is to translate the subject talked rather than misinterpreting and giving his own views. The same way, if someone wants to write their own book, they can write their own book. But when they give a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, they need to present the message of Bhagavad Gita. If they deviate from the message of Bhagavad Gita, then that is misinterpretation. In one of the commentaries of Bhagavad Gita written during Indian independence struggle is that British rule in India is adharma. Krishna has now reincarnated as Indian National Congress to establish Indian rule, which is Dharma. This is travesty of justice. So one of the European scholars studied um, hundreds of latest commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. His conclusion was that the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is incomprehensible, and its conclusion is inconclusive. So, but this is the wrong understanding. The overall message of Bhagavad Gita is quite clear, that is conveyed throughout the Bhagavad Gita very consistently. This misrepresentation, according to Srila Prabhupada, is like talking Krishna's property and enjoying it for oneself. That is demoniac. So the hundreds of commentaries which this person has read uh, was inconclusive because everybody wanted to give their own interpretation, and they were lost, and whoever reads the book also gets lost. So if you see the purport, Prabhupada is making one interesting point. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demonic because demons do not believe in God but simply enjoy the property of Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita in English, as it is received by Parampara, disciplining succession system, an attempt is made here with to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculation, it is simply a waste of time. So it is very clear that Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing the Bhagavad Gita as it is, that he has given commentary on. This is very, very important contribution, and one of the largest distributed books by our devotees is Bhagavad Gita. We're going to shloka number 3. स एव्यां मया तेज्य योग प्रोक्त पुरातना भक्तो असि मे सकाचेति रहस्यमि एतत् उत्तमम्. So what does this mean? That very science, very ancient science of relationship with Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend. You, Bhakto asime, Saka cheti. Bhakto means he is a devotee, he is a devotee and he is a devotee and he is also a friend. And devotee as well, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of science. So the sloka talks about how Krishna, the sloka talks about how Krishna takes steps to revive this knowledge. This knowledge, as such, is seems to be told by him because you are a devotee, and he is telling that I am selecting a right person to whom I can give this knowledge so that this knowledge gets revived. So it is the additional effort which Krishna is doing here. So there are two words which are very, very important. One is Uttama, and which means it is the best of knowledge. And then other one is Rahasya. Rahasya means it is secret. Uttama means Ut plus Tamaha. That means which will take us out of darkness or ignorance. Srila Prabhupada uses this verse to drive very important point that this knowledge can be understood by someone who is in similar position to Arjuna. His position is that he is Bhakta. Without being Bhakta, one cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. That means one must be ready to serve Krishna. So that is very, very important. One must have a submissive attitude. Every field requires some qualification. For example, if I have to travel in a train or flight, we need a bona fide journey ticket. So we qualify for this for using the train or plane to travel only when we have the appropriate ticket. Thus, a bona fide ticket qualifies us to take up a journey. The qualification to understand Bhagavad Gita is not Sanskrit, nor English language, or higher birth, but one must be devotee of Krishna. Being devotee and Sanskrit literacy are two different things. The easier way to understand is English scholarship. If somebody is an English scholar, he does not become expert in quantum physics or astronomy. English is English, quantum physics is quantum physics, astronomy is astronomy. So these are all different subjects. One has to build expertise in that specific area. To become a good quantum physicist, we have to study quantum physics. If somebody has to become stronger in astronomy, he has to study books written on that subject. So an English scholar cannot become a physicist or an astronomer. Same way, Bhagavad Gita, though it is spoken in Sanskrit, the knowledge is in Sanskrit, but does not make make a Sanskrit scholar a devotee of Krishna. Sanskrit is just a medium of instruction. Instructions, as such, is a subject of its own. That instructions which Krishna is giving to Arjuna is a subject of its on its own. Bhagavad Gita means Song of God. The main subject here is bhakti. We are all finite. Krishna, who is Supreme Personality of Godhead, is infinite. The finite cannot understand infinite by its own endeavor. Finite can understand infinite only when infinite reveals itself. This happens only through process of bhakti. This means that finite living beings offers himself a service to infinite supreme personality of God through process of bhakti. Then infinite reveals himself to the finite. The infinite is all prepared to support the finite and bring him to a good level so that he can go back home, back to God. That is why he is giving this knowledge. So, Bhakto Asime Sakacheti, it is only through bhakti that Krishna will reveal himself. That is the point Krishna wants to make this word. That is the point which Krishna wants to drive or emphasize that one must be bhakta and friend. So Krishna is imparting this knowledge to Arjuna, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, because Arjuna is friend and devotee of Krishna. So if you see the purport, I'm just sharing my screen. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, and any commentary on Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demoniac, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading path. One should try to follow the discipline succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this same theme that we should not misinterpret, people should not misinterpret Gita, Prabhupada takes up in the next shloka. So I'll go to the next shloka number 4. Arjuna Vacha. So now Arjuna is going to ask one important question. Arjuna Vacha, Aparam Bhavato Janma, Param Janma Vivaspataha. Katham etat vijaniya twamada protovaniti. Aparam means very small or very junior. Bhavata, your janma, life or the lifespan. Param janma vivaspataha. The Vivaswan was born long back. He's superior. Katham etat vijaniya. How am I to understand? How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? So, uh, the important thing is the Arjuna, though he has doubts, is asking questions. That means what? The Bhagavad Gita is, or the philosopher, somebody who is preaching Bhagavad Gita must be well equipped to answer the questions or doubts arising from for the people who are reading Bhagavad Gita. So, so that means Arjuna is like a disciple to Krishna, and Arjuna is sincerely listening to Krishna's words. When he is doing that, all his doubts are getting clear. But wherever he gets questioned, Krishna is trying to clarify. So, if there is a situation in which people are listening to Bhagavad Gita, and if there is a question, it needs to be asked and it needs to be answered. So that is very, very important. Good understanding of Bhagavad Gita helps is a stepping stone towards the path of bhakti. There will be many one more verse which comes in the same chapter where this asking question is also emphasized very well. So here Arjuna's question here is very good. Arjuna thinks Krishna and I are contemporaries. We lived together. We were born together almost at the same time. Vivaswan was born long ago. So how is it possible that Krishna gave this instruction to Vivaswan? So there are two aspects in which we can understand this shloka. First is the content of the shloka, and other is the mood of the shloka. The content of the shloka is that Krishna spoke some knowledge to sun god, and Krishna is existing for a very short time. But the sun god has existed for a very long time. So there is a perception. Arjuna gets a perception how Krishna could have given this knowledge. So Arjuna thinks that Krishna and me, are contemporaries. So how Krishna would have given this knowledge? Srila Prabhupada mentions that the age of Arjuna and Krishna is in order of 125. Okay, 100 to 125 compared to the age or life of compared to that age of life of the sun god is very large. So sun god is older. Thus the question as such is really valid. So the content of the shloka is how Krishna gave this knowledge to somebody who is very senior to him. Then we could see that question doesn't seem to be in a challenging mode. Arjuna is not challenging Krishna. The question is also asked at a significant juncture. So now if you see shloka number 31, Eme matam idam nityam anutistanti manava shraddhavanto anushyanto muchante api karmavi. So in 3.31, that is the previous chapter, few shlokas before only, Krishna is telling what those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without any become free from bondage of fruity action. So the point here Krishna is telling is that somebody should not doubt faithful. He should accept what Krishna is telling faithfully. So Arjuna's sudden question seems to be like against what is told in 3.31. If you see 3.32 also, etat abhyasu yanto nanu tistanti me matam sarvanyana vimudanstan vidhi nashtan achetasa. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So we need to ensure that Nanu Tistanti, regularly they are doing it. So this means somebody has to follow, if somebody has to gain knowledge that Krishna is giving, there should not be any doubt. So then, now in this case, Arjuna is questioning aparam bhavato janma. How am I to understand? So this part is not in a challenging way. It is in a way to understand. When something comes up and we want to understand, then we should ask in a way such that it is not challenging. If you see, there is one more shloka, 4.39. Shraddhava lavate jnanam tat pada samayatendriya jnanam labdva param shantim achirena adhigachati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge, who subdues his senses, is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Faithful man, Shraddhavan. The next shloka, Agnascha Ashraddhadanascha. Do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next world. So that means what? Thus, between two contrasting verses in chapter 3 and chapter 4, this question is being asked by Arjuna. So, Arjuna, the base of the question is fundamentally doubting Krishna's statement. However, Krishna explains this. He does not reject the question as nonsense and emphasize his unique position as Supreme Personality of God. He does not say that he is Supreme Personality of God, and hence Arjuna has to simply accept whatever he is telling without asking any questions or clearing his doubt. Thus, this logical question, and for this logical question, Krishna gives a very intelligible answer. When we have question, we can keep it in a parking and ask when we meet the right authority, rather than stopping our sadhana because we have this doubt and nobody is giving any convincing answer. So we should not hurt the sadhana, but patiently wait till we meet the right person. So instead of being nagged by the doubt, keep practicing Krishna consciousness. This practice purifies us and makes us realize few things when we practice it. Thus, we may get deeper understanding, or we may get qualified to get deeper understanding. In the same way, we should not shut off our doubts. Like we should not shut off our sadhana, we should also not shut off our doubts. When we come to a right forum, we must clarify the doubts. Thus, the question from Arjuna is to clarify his doubt so that there is absolute faith in what Krishna is telling. So, the question from Arjuna is seeking to understand the subject matter better rather than challenging the qualification of Krishna. So Arjuna's question is Katam etat vidaniyam. Katam etat vidaniyam. How am I to understand? Let us understand, let us analyze the mood of this question. Arjuna is explaining his situation. He is not questioning the position of Krishna as someone who is coming with stories or fantasies. Arjuna's point is that I trust what you're saying, but I am not able to understand it. So Arjuna asks, how am I to understand that you have spoken this to sun god Vivasvan? So this uh, Arjuna is considering his position as insignificant, and therefore he expresses that he is not able to understand what Krishna is explaining here. So that is how we should understand Arjuna's position, Arjuna's question. Let us go to the next shloka, text number 5. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Bahuni me vyati tani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam veda parantapa. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, many, many births, bahuni me vyatitani, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of enemies. So here, Krishna is expanding the frame of discussion. He's telling Arjuna that you are considering only this birth. Consider the many births that we have taken. Thus, Krishna brings in the concept of incarnation and reincarnation. He is talking about multiple incarnation that he has taken in the past. Krishna is also pointing out that he is able to remember all his previous births. Arjuna is not able to remember this. This is contrasts the difference between Krishna and Arjuna. That Krishna is pointing out, and that Krishna and Arjuna are not. And here we can see also understand that Krishna and Arjuna are not on the same level. Though they are in the same chariot, one of them is Jivatma, which is Arjuna, and other person is Paramatma. Krishna will make it even more clearer in the seventh chapter. So let me share my screen. He will make this point in seventh chapter, 7.26. Vedam samatitani vartamani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kasyam. So what does this mean? Oh Arjuna, as a supreme personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. So this shloka emphasizes the point that Krishna knows everything. The previous shloka, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogo Maya Samavrta Mudo Yam Na Vijanati Loko Mam Ajam Avyayam. I am never manifest to foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So this shloka emphasizes the point that Krishna cannot make any mistake. So if you see here, I am unborn and infallible. And if you take the previous one, I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. So Krishna cannot make any mistake. So if you see here in this shloka, that means what? Krishna remembers all his past birth. Why is that? Then we forget our past life. There are many reasons. The main reason is that our memories are linked to the current bodies we are in. If the body is lost, the reference point for that particular memory is lost. Memory is stored in brain. It is stored in the mind. For some of the memories, the reference points are in our body. Memories related to our childhood is related is not related to our current body. If we lose our current body, everything related to the current body or the current childhood body is lost. This means if there is no stimulus to recover the memory, that memory which is stored very deep in a very deep location cannot be retrieved. When we lose our current body, we get a new body and we get completely new system. And next reason is that, so this is the first reason. So memories are related with physical body. The next reason is that birth and death are very very painful experiences. They are traumatic experiences. Human psyche is built in such a way that we forget the most painful experiences. The painful situations are traumatic, so it will not allow us to live peacefully if we remember all the painful situation. The other reason is that the human memory is very volatile and fallible. We cannot recollect what we have done this time, last week, this time at this place. We tend to forget. Most people will forget. So, volatility, loss of reference of physical body, trauma of birth and death, all this wipe our memory. However, Supreme Personality of God never changes body. He never loses memory. Lord's body, mind, and soul are same. This way, Lord is always transcendental. This forgetfulness helps the jiva to also help to go on with his current life. Otherwise, he will be having a very bad time living in this material world. This question which Arjuna is now asking will be explained further to by Krishna. Will be explained by Krishna in the next shlokas further. So let us go to the next shloka, shloka number 4.06. Ajo api sen avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi sen prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma maya. Although I am unborn, ajo, unborn, avyaya, avyaya means deterioration. My transcendental body never deteriorates. Bhutanam ishwara, he is Lord of all living entities. Prakritim swam adhisthaya. So by his internal, he is situated in himself and he incarnates by his own internal energy. By my internal energy, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Aja, Abjaya are properties of both soul and super soul. And but the difference is that Supreme Lord, Supreme Soul is Ishvara and Supreme Lord of all living entities. So Ishvaro Apisan. Bhutana Ishvaro Apisan. Then the second difference is that by controlling material energy, which is in this case uh, is internal energy. He incarnates every millennium. Prakriti in Swam Adhistaya being situated. Sambhavami, I do incarnate by my own internal energy. Okay, so he's telling that by my internal energy, of which I am the controller, I appear in every millennium in my own transcendental form. So this is the most important and technical verse. Both Vaishnava and Mayavadi philosophers have fought wars on this verse. What does this verse mean? Whether Supreme Lord takes material form or takes his own form. Prakriti typically means material nature. Prakriti essentially means energy, nature. So Krishna uses the term Prakriti in Swam, which means his own nature. Swam means his own nature. His own nature. This time by myself. So Prakriti in Swam means his own nature. When he says that my Prakriti, it means that Prakriti is under his control. It is not that Krishna is in control of Prakriti. The understanding of the last two lines of this verse is that Krishna is manifesting through his own energy by adjusting it. Sambhavami Atma Maya. Krishna incarnates himself through his internal potency. In the word to word translation, in the word to word translation, Prabhupada has not given millennium. There's no millennium. But Prabhupada brings it in translation. The verse 4.88. Sorry. परित्राणाय साधूना विनाशाय च दुष्कृता धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. Yuge yuge means millennium, which means Krishna appears in every millennium. This addition of millennium brings more clarity in this verse also. So he is incarnating when in every millennium. So Prabhupada is trying to bring meaning from shloka number 4.8 into this shloka so that it becomes meaningful. So that is why he has added millennium in this. Okay. So now if you see the purport, Prakriti means nature as well as Swarupa or one's own form. Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in present birth, but he has different body in the next birth. In the material world, living entity has no fixed body but transmigrates from one body to another. Lord, however, does not do so. So the word Maya, there is the when Prabhupada is talking about the word Maya. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to Lord's causeless mercy according to the Vishwa Kosha dictionary. So so the Lord is conscious of all his previous appearances and disappearances. But a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse. So why does Lord appear? Right? So that is something which we will be discussing. So I will stop here. Um, do you have any questions? Hare Krishna, Mataji, you have any question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, you have any questions?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. So, wait, I have some questions noted down.
Okay, Prabhu.
Mm, we discuss that. Mm, opening your presentation. You are able to see?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So, in today's discussion, we have gone through some topics. So, some questions that we can really ponder over. Why does Krishna emphasize that the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita was lost over time? This is something which we discussed today. How does Krishna explain degradation of culture during the time of Mahabharata? So, it is due to the power of time. Why does Srila Prabhupada criticize modern interpretations of Bhagavad Gita? Because they are misusing Krishna's property. If they have to give a commentary, then it should be done on their own merit, not on Krishna's merit. What is the significance of Arjuna's questions about Krishna's instruction to sun god? So he wants to understand how Krishna, who is his contemporary, how he could have instructed to sun god. So Arjuna is putting himself in a menial position and trying to understand how Krishna has done that. Then how does Krishna differentiate himself from Arjuna while explaining reincarnation? So he is able to remember all things. He comes with his own, he is the controller of the material energy and he comes in the same body. He doesn't have a body like ours. So these are some interesting points that we discussed in today's class. Some 5 questions that we discussed in today's class. Okay, so if there are no questions, then let's stop here. Thank you very much. Vacha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद है। ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद है। कृष्णा।
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.